I know for certain the one I love. I'm through with flirting, it's you that I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
Trials and tribulations, better settle down and get myself a wife. Yes, and a wife who cook and sew for me and come for me and go for me and go for me and nag at me. The fingers she will wag at me, the money she will take from me, a misery she will make from me. I think I'd better think it out again.
Just tell her something like I just said. What you just said is a load of hooey. It's not hooey, it's poetic. Your beauty makes time stand still. Your face would stop the clock.
Святих небес він тоді зійшле, та й від злої години захистить тебе.
Okay, well, there was an example of some of the folks, some of the cavalcade of talent you will see at Songs for Ukraine this coming Saturday, the 17th, here in St. Louis. And here to talk all about it is the woman who has been working 60-hour days getting this thing organized. A singer, a very powerful singer in her own right here in St. Louis, Christy Simmons.
Oh, thank you, Chuck. Yes, 60-hour days, and I will be having my head examined on Monday.
This is what happens when you volunteer. I should tell people that I first found out about this when you came up to me at an open mic night, what, a couple of months ago or more, and said, "Oh, we think we might do, we think we might do this the concert for Ukraine. You want to be part of it?" And I said, "Oh yeah, great." And now you're probably wishing you'd kept your mouth shut about the whole thing.
Well, you know, I am thrilled, but really, yes, be careful what you ask for, right? It all goes back really to April, you know, when the war in Ukraine was new and it was on the news 24/7, and I watched one of those 9 million such heart-wrenching stories. This particular one was about the musicians who live in Ukraine who were taking their instruments out into the street and playing, you know, this beautiful music during all of this heartbreaking turmoil, warfare going on around them, people leaving their homes, leaving their loved ones, and they're just bringing music to the world because it's all they know how to do, and it's so necessary. It's like a one bit of sanity in the midst of the insane, hellish conditions that they were experiencing.
Yeah.
And so I was so moved by that I immediately picked up my phone, right? Because that's what we do. And I went on Facebook and I just said, "Oh my gosh, I saw the most heartbreaking story." And I don't know, maybe I should do a fundraiser. Within an hour, the first hour, 40, count them, 40 of St. Louis's best entertainment people hit me up and said, "When and where do you want me? What do you want me to do? If you have too many performers, I'll sweep the floors and be an usher, but I'm here to help." I was, well, and then, you know, I went, "Oh, well, I guess I'm doing a fundraiser," because I was just kind of thinking out loud, but, you know, of course, my heart was still breaking, so why not? But immediately, you know, 40 people, that's huge. I was thinking honestly, I was thinking a nice little fundraiser, maybe 8 singers,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe, Jim Dolan and at the Blue Strawberry, would offer to donate, which he did, by the way. Um, and then I'm like, okay, 40 people. Well, and I don't want to turn any of them away because they're all fabulous and they have these great hearts and they want to do something. So let's do something bigger. So originally I was thinking maybe a cabaret crawl, but just coordinating it just was impossible. And then someone put in my ear a little bug in my ear and said, you maybe need to think bigger than that even, maybe a bigger venue. So we started looking at bigger venues, just no place was available. And then I, I on a whim, I was like, I don't even know if they're open right now, but I'm calling the Westport Playhouse. And they weren't open yet. They were about to have their
Hmm.
grand reopening.
Right.
And
With the
and
Da
I
Vinci
spoke,
show, yeah.
and I spoke with Lenny Mink, who said, yeah, I think it's a great idea. Let's have a meeting. And one thing led to another. And then we have the beautiful Westport Playhouse with its 240 seats available for as many shows as I could fit in one day, which, turned out to be 3. And so here we are with 3 shows in one day, all distinctly different because I wanted to be able to put everybody to use, right? Everybody who had volunteered. I know people in the circus world, for example. I know people who are straight up jazz musicians. I know a lot of cabaret performers and musical comedy performers, and all of them were on that list. And so I sort of broke it out into 3 different shows. The first one is family friendly. So
Okay.
it's, I want to make the distinction. We kind of in shorthand, we refer to it as a kids show, but it's really not, it's not a kiddie show. It's family friendly, meaning children are not going to get bored,
Hmm.
right? You can bring your kids to this. There's going to be entertainment for children of all ages, for people of all ages, but the kids are not going to get bored. We got a show that's going to be visually very exciting.
Hmm.
We have aerialists. We have people who do like mad, crazy things with hula hoops that light up and things. We've got a ventriloquist who is, funny enough for mom and dad or for the never been married, no kids, single adult,
Hmm.
who just is smart and has a good funny sense of humor. He's very funny. He's an amazing ventriloquist. I love ventriloquism, by the way, because it's one of those art forms that we don't get to see much of anymore, but it
Hmm.
takes so much talent and so much work to
Yeah.
to be that. And
So the first show is like an old time vaudeville show, basically. It's got a whole bunch of
exactly.
variety acts. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or, for those who don't know vaudeville so much, think of, if you're old enough to remember, the Ed Sullivan Show.
And
That, you
Sullivan,
know,
yeah, there you go.
exactly. Right. Where there were plate twirlers and then Ella Fitzgerald would come out and sing. And
Hmm.
then, you'd have a classical violinist. I mean, just a little bit of everything and all really top notch talent. So that's
And
the
that
first one.
okay, that's
Yes.
at
Go ahead.
12:30, right?
That is at 2:30. No,
2:30. I'm
that's
sorry.
sorry. No, it's at 2 o'clock. It's at 2 o'clock. 2:00.
Okay.
And we had to
So
shift
that's at
things
two
around a
o'clock.
lot.
Okay.
There's a lot in my head, but it's at 2 o'clock. Oh,
Okay.
by
And
the way,
then, yeah.
outside the theater, and this starts at 1 o'clock. It was very important to me that, yes, okay, I had all of these wonderful friends of mine show up, but I also want the the Ukrainian community here in St. Louis to be represented on this
Hmm.
day. And so I reached out to, fortunately, they were having their Ukrainian Independence Day celebration not long ago. So I went there and reached out to some members of the community. There are some wonderful Ukrainian artists here in St.
Okay.
Louis who are going to set up tables outside of the theater. They will be selling their artwork. Some of them are selling, actually, are relatives of Ukrainian artists who don't live here necessarily, some in other parts of this country. Some of this stuff is actually, made it from Ukraine here. So you're going to get to see authentic Ukrainian artists at their very best, beautiful, beautiful works. Everything from something as utilitarian as handmade, hand painted, beautifully hand painted mugs, to textiles, to art that you put on your wall, to you name it, to flowers that you put in your hair or whatever, you name it.
Okay.
It's going to be out there. So that's going to start at 1 o'clock. And that will go through until the start of the last show. Once we start the final show, then they'll close down shop. By the way, these artists are sending, really, they're doing this all over St. Louis as much as they can. They're doing fundraisers all the time.
Hmm.
Basically, they send pretty much all of it to their relatives in Ukraine. So we will be getting 50% of their sales, which we will send to our charities, and then they will pay for their materials, and then they will be sending the rest of it home. So
Okay.
it's
So
all going to cause that as well. What we're going to ask?
I was going to ask. So we've got the 2 o'clock show, the 5 o'clock show. Now let's talk a little bit about that because that's very different.
That it is very different. The 5 o'clock show is a jazz show. We have a phenomenal pianist, Nick Schlieder, who is he's an adjunct professor at Webster, and he then is a musician playing out in St. Louis, and
Hmm.
he's just a phenomenal jazz pianist. We also have Willem van Hambrocht on bass, very well known jazz bass player. Clancy Newell on drums, and then Adrian Bauer, who is a wonderful trumpet player,
Okay.
jazz player, of course. And then the singers, we've got 5 singers. The singers are Wendy L. Gordon,
Hmm.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
They're all, they're all wonderful. Okay, Beverly Brennan,
Hmm.
Paul McKnight, Maury Jeanette, and some woman named Christy Simmons. And so that's those are going to be the 5 singers on this jazz show. And this one is only an hour long. And the reason it's only an hour long is because a lot of these guys, a lot of my players are playing in the Webster Jazz Fest that afternoon. And
Okay.
then Willem has to leave at 6:30 because he has a gig in Bellevue, not Bellevue, Belleville.
Belleville. Yes.
So like the rock star that he is, only he's a jazz star. He's, just doing a whole day, and in the middle of it, he's giving an hour of it away, as are the other musicians there. So so that one's going to be a lot of fun, and really some high level jazz musicians involved in that one.
Mhm.
And then the 7:30 show has, I can't even name everybody because there are 16, it might be 17 singers. I've kind of lost track.
Ah, okay.
And but there's well, you you're in
Yes.
it.
As a matter of
Um,
fact,
uh,
yes.
I'm in it. Kate Durbin, who a
Kate
lot of people
Durbin.
don't know
Mhm.
is a singer. A lot of people know her from Channel 9 doing the pledge breaks, and she'll be singing. Beverly Brennan also doing the
Mhm.
jazz show, and this one.
I think
Um,
Jeff Wright's in this also. Am I
Jeff
right?
Wright is in it.
Katie
Alice
McGrath.
Kinsella, Katie McGrath, Chet Y. I mean, Mary Keller, really wonderful singers. Michelle Burnett, Elmore. I mean, these are the people that you've all seen at the Muni. You've
Hmm.
seen them at stages. You've seen them at New Jewish Theater. You've seen them at Blue Strawberry. Any place that you go to see live musical comedy, live jazz, in the case of the jazz show, live cabaret, these are the people that you will have seen. And they
Yes.
are all donating their time and their talent to do this, and it's going to be an amazing show. Well, you got to see a little bit of it at rehearsal the other night.
Hmm.
I got to see everybody's numbers, and the thing I love about it is not only is everyone so talented, but so different. There's no getting
That's
bored in
true.
this show. There's a lot of singing, but if you're over the age of 10, probably there's no getting bored in it, because there is just like a change of attitude, a change of what mood you're bringing, a change of whatever. And since we get to see pretty much everyone twice, we get to see two moods from
Hmm.
them. And so it's a little bit fun and funny and happy and peppy. And then it's also, I'm going to warn you, going to bring you your hanky, because we're going to tug your heartstrings a little bit,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
there's
I
just
know
so much
that.
to say.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I picked two very contrasting songs
Right.
for
Yes,
my
you did.
set, and
Yes. And and I love both of them. I love the way you do both of them, actually. You made me cry
oh,
in that
thank you.
one.
Well, there you go. You just proved your
Yeah,
point.
right. Yeah, exactly. And also a couple of names that people might not recognize
Hmm.
are some singers who are new to me, and they are both from Ukraine and
Oh,
living
okay.
here now in St. Louis. Both named Victor. One is Victor Bosanov, who's going to be in the first show
Hmm.
and also the third show. Also, Victor Fidjuk, Fidjuk, who is going to be in both of those two shows too. Neither one of them are jazz singers, so they're not going to be in the jazz show, but they're going
Hmm.
to be in the first one and the third one. And
Great.
we also have a, a, a a troupe of Ukrainian dancers who are going to be in both the first and the third shows too. We're going to get a little bit of
Wow.
Ukrainian folk dancing to watch, and so a little bit of everything. And it's really, gosh, it's so exciting to see all of this talent. It's so exciting for me to know I get to put all of this on a stage for people to come and see, right? I get to, I feel very blessed by this. I'm going to feel very tired on Sunday, but I feel very blessed by all of this. And, the whole point of all of this is just we want to do something good. We want to do something humanitarian in these really dark times for Ukraine. The two charities that we are supporting here are World Central Kitchen. Now,
Hmm.
World Central Kitchen, when we first saw the very first images, the first days of the war, the refugees fleeing, the women and their children leaving their husbands behind, the children leaving their fathers behind, and we saw them crossing into safety into Poland, and there was food waiting for them. That was World Central Kitchen. They were there from the very first refugees who crossed the border. And then very shortly in, they decided this isn't enough. We have to go in. We have to go in, boots on the ground. They went into Ukraine. They're in Ukraine. They're delivering food and humanitarian aid. And and I believe this is the first time they've ever done that, actually. I think they've always been, the sort of first responders, but on the at the
Hmm.
safety, as the safety net. But now they are going in. They've been going in. And the other charity that we are supporting is Mercy Corps. And
Okay.
same thing, they are going in to the war zones or the areas that have been war zones where there are still people remaining. And they are specifically, more than anything else, they are providing aid to the elderly and the disabled who were not able to flee. If they wanted
Okay.
to, they couldn't. They
Yeah.
had to be left behind, and their families, their caregivers had to stay behind with them. They are providing services to that demographic, and also, the ones who said, particularly the elderly, who said, I perhaps I could flee, but this is my homeland. I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm going to die soon anyway. I'm going to die defending my home.
Right.
Um,
So those are our two charities, and we should emphasize that all of us who are performing in this are donating our time.
Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely all.
proceeds are all going to the charities.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, our expenses have been so small on this. like we had to pay for insurance for the vendors outside of
Mhm.
the venue. To my knowledge, and I think that's was about $250. To my knowledge, short of that, maybe another $50 for, I don't know, printing or something. That's it. Those are our expenses, and everything else is going to the charities. We will have, if you, of course, if you can't come, but you want to donate, that's an important question that I've been getting to. How do I donate? At this point, I think the best thing that I would want to suggest is just please write a check to either World Central Kitchen or Mercy Corps, or divide whatever you wanted to donate in half and send one to each, and just send it to them directly. I don't need any credit for it. I don't need anybody to know that
Right.
it's because you heard about this show. I just need that money to go to them. So that's the easiest way. Or if you happen to be wandering through Westport, but you're like, but I don't have time for a show, we'll have donation buckets. You can just put your money or your
Ah,
check
very good.
into the
Like the
donation
tip
buckets. There
jars.
will be
Yeah, great.
a couple out there with the vendors.
And I will point out that if you want to know anything about any of these organizations, you want links, just look down here in the video description field for this video. You'll see links to all the organizations, to both to World Central Kitchen and the Mercy Corps, and links to more information about the show. So you don't have to take notes during this. Just
Good,
look at what we
absolutely.
got down
That's
there.
fantastic. And I will tell you, regarding the charities, in speaking with members of the Ukrainian community here in town, they're very concerned about where money is going, because
Hmm.
not all charities are created equally, unfortunately. And
Yes.
so
There,
we
I'm sure
vetted
scam
these.
artists out there taking advantage of this
Absolutely,
for sure.
absolutely. In a time like this, they really can't afford for some to be financing someone else's lavish lifestyle.
Hmm.
And so we have vetted these two charities very carefully.
Great.
The amount of money that's given to them that actually goes into service is very high. They're like ranked, in the highest of all of the charities. So, yeah, I feel very comfortable about sending money to them.
So let's recap. This is going to be this coming Saturday, the 17th, at Westport Plaza, starting at, we're really starting at 1 p.m.
Yes,
Really
outside.
outdoor
Yes.
with the art fair at 1 p.m.
Mhm.
and 3 shows running all the way through the evening. Last show is at 7:30. Again, all the information down here in the video description to find out about it. Uh, I have to say a personal note. I feel really connected to this because despite the fact that my last name is obviously Italian, my mother's people are from the Ukraine. My grandmother on my mother's side was born in the Ukraine, in fact. So
Yes, yes.
my family has, I have direct familial connections back there. I don't know who they are, but they're there. So
Really, honestly, Chuck, for the vast majority of Americans, our relatives were at one point immigrants. You know,
yes,
uh,
exactly.
some from Italy, some from Ukraine, some from England, Ireland. But most of us have our roots in other countries, and throughout this process, it's interesting. I've met more people that I know who look like you or look like me, who say, "Oh yeah, I have relatives from Ukraine," right?
Hmm.
And the world really is a big melting pot. We are all we're all people. And that's,
Yeah.
I think, the point here. We're all people, and we just need to step in and do what we can to help each other.
Yeah. The late JFK said that we are a nation of immigrants, and it's something I think we really need to remind ourselves of every day, especially with the insane nativism
Right.
returning,
Yeah.
sadly, among us right now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, so Christy Simmons, thanks for that information on Songs for Ukraine. Check the links below, and tune in next time for yet another edition of Chuck's Cultured Channel. I'm Chuck Lavazzi, Senior Performing Arts Critic at 88.1 KDHX. Over there is the very overworked, but ultimately, yes, but ultimately gratified Christy Simmons. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chuck.